Welcome, 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 life leaders. Thank you for joining me today on Friday, the 13th of March. Today, we are going to talk about the 3 hacks that you can do to become a powerhouse bill payer. Very exciting. I think it's funny because talking about money is never really an exciting subject, right? So to be able to make it exciting and make it fun is an important part of your financial plan. So when you're looking at creating an easier way to pay your bills, right? That way that will completely help with the patterns that we've created in our life already at this point. That oblivious partner, the one who's not involved in their finances, the all-cost avoider who really doesn't want to know what's due. Maybe there's some stress there. The adrenaline junkie who really just waits to the last minute for several different reasons, internal reasons. Everyone has a different reason of why they wait to the last minute to pay their bills. And the emotionally unattached person who really doesn't care if their bills are paid or not. These 3 hacks are going to help all those personalities kind of get in alignment with where they want to go, right? Because we all have dreams in life. We may not have a clear vision, but we all have dreams in life. We want a new car. We want a new house. We want a new something, right? And that's part of the American life, is that ability to evolve in our wants and our needs, to be able to evolve in our finances, to be able to afford those. And these 3 hacks will help you evolve there in those areas. I talked about the 4 types of personality, bill paying personalities last week in last week's video. So if you didn't get a chance to watch that, go back and watch that and see which one you actually relate to. But today I do want to talk about the 3 simple hacks. They're simple but very powerful hacks that you can put into place to ensure that your bills are being paid on time, to alleviate the stress around paying bills, and to bring in your partner or your significant other to be able to work together with your finances. Because typically I find, especially with the oblivious partner, there's a disconnect between who does the bills and who doesn't do the bills. And to bring that disconnect together and to work together on your finances will actually allow you to grow in being able to grow your finances. So you're growing together as a couple, and then you're growing together in your finances and your dreams. So that's a very important piece. Now, when you're in a partnership, you've got 2 different personalities going on, right? One person may be the oblivious partner and the other person may be the penny pincher. Or one person may be the all-cost avoider, the other person is going, we got to pay the bills, what's going on. So there can be really create friction there. The adrenaline junkie, maybe against the all-cost avoider. There you've got a real challenge because the likelihood of missing something is greater than if you were in control of that yourself, right? And the emotionally unattached, if you have an oblivious partner on one side and an emotionally unattached person on the other side, what's the likelihood of having a really secure financial future there? So these 3 hacks are going to allow you to come together if you have a partnership. And if you're single, it's going to allow you to alleviate the stress so that you know where your money is going. Right? You know that when your money comes in, you have control over it. And it's just simple things, right? Before I dive into that, let me introduce myself. My name is Sheila Wood. I am the CEO of Lead Life by Design and the creator of the Financial Alignment Academy, where we blend personal development strategies with your personal financial plan. Because we believe that the emotional and psychological connection below the surface in your unconscious mind is important to address to be able to have long-term financial success and change from where you are today, right? We all have different challenges. So let me just dive right into the first of the 3 financial bill paying hacks. The first one is an electronic calendar. Everybody carries a cell phone around with them. Everyone has some type of electronic on their person most of the time. right? We either have the iCalendar or we have Google Calendars. You know, there is electronic calendars out there that you use or you may be using on a regular basis that allows you to stay on track with what you have to do every day, right? So we're going to incorporate the electronic calendar into your bill paying plan. Now, how do you do that? If you have Google Calendars, the way I did my Google Calendars is I went in and searched how do I add a calendar, so that I kept my calendar, my finance calendar, separate than my regular everyday calendar. Because if you have a separate finance calendar, you can share it to your partner. So if you're the one that does the bills, you create the calendar, the other person is going to be able to see that on their phone, just like you can, because you're sharing that particular calendar. And you just have to Google the instructions, they're there. I don't know much about the iCalendar yet, but I'm certain that you should be able to create a separate calendar in there as well. If not, have both of you put yours on there. But if you can share the calendar, it's much, much easier. So how does the calendar work? Every bill has a due date, right? If you put that in the calendar, when you put in on the due date, the bill that is due, and in the title, you put the title of the bill, and in the description, you're actually putting the link to where you're paying the bill, the link to get the statement, so that you don't have to go searching for it on the days that you're having your bill pays, right? You just open up your calendar invite. It's got all the information there. You've got your link to where you're going, and once you get in there, you know how much is due. If you have a budgeted item already, which I highly, highly, highly recommend, then have that budgeted dollar amount listed in your title. So, for example, the electric bill's due on the 17th of the month, right? So the electric bill is listed on the 17th of the month, and the dollar amount that is put in there, which I recommend in the budgeting portion of my plan, is the highest amount that you've had to pay in the last 12 months. The highest dollar amount you had to pay within the last 12 months. That should be your budget amount. So you're going to have FP&L if you're down in West Palm, or whatever, your Duke Energy if you're in Orlando, or wherever you happen to be. Those are the two companies I'm familiar with here in Florida. But wherever you are, whatever your electric company is, it's the company name dash the highest dollar amount that you have had to pay in the last 12 months. And in the description, put the link of where you have to pay it, right? And make sure that on your calendar it shows available, so that, there's a setting that you can say that says busy versus available. If you put it in available, then it's not going to affect anything that has to do with any other scheduling opportunities. It's not going to keep you from being able to schedule something over it. So once you get your calendar done, these are all the bills: your credit cards, your utilities, your rent or mortgage, your, if you have grocery bills, your grocery day is already scheduled out. Put the grocery days on there with the budget amount. Having that big picture look in your monthly calendar allows you to know every day what's coming up, right? Because you're looking at your calendar all the time, so you know what's coming up. Right? So when you share the calendar, you've got your spouse has visual of that. You color coded as well. Your spouse has that color code showing up on hers or his, and you have yours showing up on yours. And if there's any questions, the communication is now open to be able to talk about it. Right? So that's creating that bill pay calendar in an electronic format, so it shows up right on your cell phone. It's always front of mind. All right. So the next little hack I have for you is your 2 money day months. 2 money day months. What does that mean? Right? We have all of our bills scheduled out on the calendar. We know when and how much is due, just based on our notes, right? The hardest part of this process is taking the time to get it put together. Once it's put together, it's easy peasy. So now that you have your calendar lined up, list out in two cycles, right? Based on your paydays. I always say if you have your own business or if you get paid twice a month, do those days, right? The twice a month is whatever 2 days that you get paid on. Those are your 2 money days. Typically, it's either the 1st and the 15th or the 15th and the 31st or last business day of the month, right? That's a typical two-month pay cycle or 2 days a month pay cycle. Those would be your money days. On that, if, as an example, if it's the 31st and 15th and the 31st, on the 15th, everything from the 16th through the 31st is listed on day 1. Day 1. The 16th through the 31st is listed on day 1. Just list it out. I used to have a little calculator tape that I would use for mine. A pretty simple person. So the second set of bills would be your 31st bills, right? You get paid on the 31st. So everything from the 1st through the 15th, right? Through the 15th. If you have anything due on the 15th, that goes in your first, in that cycle, right? So that's if you're paid on the 15th and the 31st. If you're paid on the 1st and the 15th, there's a little bit of a shift that happens. You want the payday on the 1st, paying for everything from the 16th through the 31st, right? So paycheck 1, the 16th through the 31st. On paycheck 2, which is the one you get paid on the 15th, that one is paying from the 1st through the 15th. I think I just messed that up in my head. All right, so on the 1st, it's everything through the 16th through the 31st, and on the 15th, it's everything through the 1st and the 15th. The reason that you do that is so that you're always paying ahead. You're always paying ahead. When you first start this cycle, it takes a few to get into that cycle, but once you're in it, you are always paying ahead. But pick 2 money days, whatever works for you. These are just examples. 2 money days a month. If you get paid weekly, right, there are 4 times a year that you have 5 paychecks. If you have a 2-day money day, you actually feel those 5th paychecks as extra money that gets to go towards your dreams, towards your goals, right? Because you have everything being paid in a 2 money day cycle. On all the months that you only get paid twice, you're actually managing it fine. You're paying your bills on time, right? So on that month where there's an extra paycheck, and it might not be that very paycheck, but within the cycle of like 2 above or 2 below, there's an extra paycheck in there. When you're paying your bills on a 2-month day cycle, that becomes extra money, and you actually get to feel it. You actually get to know that it's there and put it towards something that you want, or put towards your debt if you have a debt payoff plan or a dream that you may be wanting to accomplish for the year. That's 4 times a year if you get paid weekly, right? It's very exciting. If you get paid bi-weekly, there's twice a year that you get an extra paycheck. So your paycheck days on your money days, you're listing everything between the 2 paychecks that are due. So if you get paid on the first Friday of the month, everything for the next 2 weeks is paid out of that paycheck. If you get paid on the first Thursday of the month, same thing. Everything after that paycheck gets put in. Now, I typically have, and I'll post in here, I typically have like pre-made out schedules for the whole year. When you make out your schedule for the whole year for your paycheck, on what are going to be your 2 paydays for the months, you truly have like control over your money. You truly get to know where your extra paychecks are and where you're going to allocate them. And it's planning ahead, right? The hardest part is getting started. I promise you that. But I will put in here, I'll put the calendars, the schedules for Thursday weekly, Friday weekly, Thursday bi-weekly, Friday bi-weekly. And if you get paid bi-monthly, it's simple. It's whatever your paydays are. It's everything between the 2. Okay? The next third hack I have for you is having an electronic system. You know, in the electronic age, we typically have everything electronic anyway, right? We have everything going out of our banks via bill pay or some kind of electronic transfer. All of our statements are all electronic statements coming into our emails, right? So being able to have an organized electronic system is going to allow you to alleviate the stress of knowing what you have going on. Now, how do you do that? Number one, have its own email box. Have all your financial stuff going to its own email box to where it's not getting loaded with junk mail. So if you have everything going to one email, it's getting lost in the junk because Lord knows we're getting 100, 200 emails a day if you're anyone that does anything on the internet. So, you know, they find you. So how do we alleviate that? By creating an email address that's specific for your finances only, right? That email is for your banks, it's for your credit cards, it's for your investment accounts, it's for your PayPal account, your Zelle account, whatever that is. If you're getting statements for them, that's where it should go. And nothing else should be in that email address. That email address should be shared by both partners. Both partners should have access to that email address, right? That also alleviates the argument of, I don't have access to that. It's going to so-and-so's email address, not mine, right? So if you have a single email address that's specific for finances, then all parties can have access to that need it, that you give permission to, if you will, right? Once you have that email address done, then separate your files. Separate them into whatever the financial institution that is due, or a loan person that is due, right? So for instance, if it's electric utility bills, so for me, it's Duke Energy. So I have Duke Energy, I have Spectrum, I have Capital One, I have Bank of America, I have PNC, so you have all these different statements going to that particular folder. Every email system has a way to create rules and just shoot them right into the folder that they belong into. That takes looking it up because each email system is different, so you have to look at how to do that. But if you have those automatically going into your folders, then every month when it's time to pay the bills, well, number one, you probably won't have to go look at them if you've got them set up in your calendar. Just go straight to the link and you've got everything there. But I always recommend looking at them. You need to know what's hitting those statements every month. So on your money days, your system is to go in, look at all your statements that are due, only the ones that are within that list, so you're not overwhelmed. So you're looking at all the ones that are due, you're looking at the statement, what hit those statements. If you're going directly to the company to pay those bills, you can see them right there in front of you online. You won't have to go back to your email to get them. They're already there. But you need to make sure that there's nothing else going on that statement that may be fraud or not yours or something else that you may have to dispute, right? Keeping an eye on those transactions that are actually hitting your accounts and your statements. So going back to, once they're in the folders, you have the link in the calendar, you have your folders all organized in your email system, and then you have your the way you pay your bills, right? There's two ways. One is the link in the email goes directly to the utility. A lot of people like to pay their bills directly at the company that is due, right? So having that set up on auto pay is a huge stress reliever. If you know how much money's coming in and you know how much money you need to pay, putting those bills on auto pay is a bonus. You don't have to worry about whether it's getting paid or when it's getting paid, but you do need to keep an eye on it. It's still something that you should look at every single time you go in for your money days. So if everything is on auto pay and you're getting paid on the 15th and the 31st, then on the 31st, everything that was supposed to have come out, you review the last cycle and then pay the next cycle. Because everything that should have came out before that out of the last paycheck should have cleared. You just need to review that and make sure that it did. So if you have let's say on the 15th you have your electric bill, your water bill, your car payment, your auto insurance, and your Capital One credit card, right? And you have all the amounts that you've paid on your list, right? You have your budgeted amount. You're just checking it off. Okay, done, 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 done. It's literally just a review, making sure that everything that was expected to come out did, and that nothing came out that wasn't supposed to, right? And then the next time you're looking at, okay, what do I need to pay for the next section? What's this pay period's cycle, right? I happen to like using bill pay. I do pay some things online directly to the company, like the electric bill and things like that, because it's easier. But one of the challenges with auto pay, especially if it's an auto loan or a loan that you're paying off, like furniture, for instance, you've got that auto pay set up so that you're reoccurring on time, the same dollar amount every month to stay on cycle, right? The challenge with that is once that balance is paid off, you have to still make sure that the payment stops. Sometimes when you do auto pays at the company that they're due, there's no control over whether the payment stops once the balance is done. And unfortunately, they're separate systems on the other side a lot of times, so that where you set your auto pay up is one system versus where it actually hits and gets paid. So it doesn't know that that it's actually paid off, and it could be a couple months cycle before you realize that it's been paid off if you're on bill pay and you're not paying attention. That's where that review part cycle comes into play, reviewing the statements that are due, right? You're checking those balances, making sure you're on track. If you're on that last payment of being due, then it's important for you to really keep an eye on it the next time, because you're making that last payment and you don't need that cycle to come out again, right? If you're paying it directly from your bank as a bill pay, where you set it up and you're in control of when it gets paid, because that can get set up as auto pay as well, then you're in control of when the payment goes out and when it doesn't, because you can cancel the payment once the last payment is made. So there's two ways of doing it. Neither are wrong. It's what you're comfortable with. I love bill pay. Most of my bills came out of bill pay most of the time. Right now, it's a little bit different, but that's because finances change, right? Finances change based on what we're doing. So having that electronic system in place will alleviate so much stress, but it is so important that if you have an electronic system in place that you do not take your eye off the ball. Those 2 days a month where you sit down and pay your bills are the days where you're reviewing for fraud, you're reviewing for your goals, you're reviewing for the bills getting paid on time, just making sure they're getting done, or you're actually hitting the go button, right? And you know how much is due, because if you have in your calendar, you have your 6 bills that are due in that cycle. One of them's a $100 budget, the other's a $150 budget, the other's $250, right? Add it up. You know how much you need. The goal is to actually pay less than what you've budgeted, which is why when I say use your highest dollar amount of the last 12 months as your budgeted figure, because that difference on a monthly basis, it fluctuates, right? Your payment fluctuates with electricity. So if my highest bill is $250 in June, because I live in Florida, right? But the rest of the year, it runs anywhere from $60 to $79, $89, whatever, right? That difference is an abundance where you are. That difference gets to fund your dreams. So you're budgeting the highest amount, and when that time comes, there's no loss. You're already ready for it. It's in the budget. And you get to build your dreams because there's a cushion built into that, right? So having that budget added all the way across, knowing how much you need and how much is coming in, simple, simple, simple. The hardest part is getting it set up. So I'm going to wish you luck, and I'm going to put few extra things in the links below to kind of help with that process, because again, getting set up is probably the hardest thing about this whole piece. But it allows you to come together, work together on your finances. It allows you to keep your eye on the ball, right? It allows you to not miss any payments and be early for everything. That early for everything is 35% of your credit score. That paying on time is 35% of your credit score, and it can make a huge difference in your future ability to purchase dreams like a home or a new car, right? These are just simple hacks. And if you have any questions for them, please don't hesitate to leave them below. I would be happy to clarify anything that sounds confusing. I am going to add a few links at the bottom for you to help with that process. And I thank you for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you next Friday. Happy Life Leader.